Can I ask about, you touched on the developers. It's the biggest construction sites that always have CFMEU pretty much there. What is that relationship like between the developers, who a lot of people view as being the Liberal Party, and the unions, which is, as we've discussed, is a more Labor Party? How does that work, that dynamic?
They're in partnership together. The Master Builders Association and the CFMEU are in partnership together. 30 years ago, I read this little labour hire agency. I think we had about 500, 600 people at the time, I think. And we decided to get into in the construction industry. And I had a look at it and said, Jesus, this is going to be messy. But it turned out a mate of mine, I was in a gourmet club with Aldo Bavacqua, and it was a builder in town. I said, how do you do this? How do you, because you don't seem to have any problem with the CFMEU. And he explained to me how he did it. He said, I left the Master Builders Association, and then I got all my contractors to promise me, and he was an Italian, right? So there's a promise is a bit more, has more meaning.
Yes.
And he said the promise was that they would not stop work. If the union officials came on and said stop work, whatever, I required them to continue working. So the unions couldn't stop the work.
There you go.
And so I did a bit of homework, and David Russell QC, who's still a friend of mine, he then showed me. He said the problem's in the contracts.
Right.
So the Master Builders Association contract basically defines a stoppage, industrial stoppage, as an act of God. He said what you need to do is make these changes, and he wrote out. It was about 3 or 4 lines, probably, and he said, that's what you should do. And so I got in touch with the Housing Industry Association, and I said, this is what we want to do. And they said, oh, shit, that's a good idea. So the wording's actually, I changed the wording, not to change the legal meaning, so that it fitted into the context of the HIA standard contract. So I don't want to take any credit for it, but I can say that's actually my wording.
Sure.
David Russell's idea.
Yeah.
And what it essentially meant was that when the union guys came on the site, and they'd go, the standard thing was, right, there's a bunch of brickies over there, and there's some scaffolders here, and they'd see the brickies weren't in the union, so they'd go to the scaffolders and they'd say, righto guys.
If I can just take 20 seconds of your time, I apologise for interrupting this clip. If you'd like to support Turning Point Australia and what we're doing to help keep the lights on and keep the work going moving forward, please check out our website at tpaust.com.au. We've got a range of merchandise, whether it's the Make Australia Great Again hat, whether it's the other shirts that we have, or the educational maps that we have. Please go and support. If you don't want to buy any merch, that's fine. You can also support us by buying us a coffee and becoming a regular subscriber for as little as $4 a month. I'll let you guys get back to it. Thank you so much.
The site's black, stop work. And they just automatically stop. And then they'd walk over to the site manager and say, the brickies have stopped the site. And you look over and the brickies are still working. The scaffolders have stopped work. And what that wording in the Housing Industry Association contract did was it made the scaffolder liable, not the developer. And we explained that to them. And before we actually started the sites, and I did it in conjunction with a major formwork contractor named Ronnie Jenkins, a great guy. And we explained it to everybody. The Housing Industry Association backed us. We even got supply contracts in. Because the suppliers hated this sort of business. Oh, stop work, stop, don't send the concrete to that place. And they just do it. And the suppliers hated it.
Yeah.
So we developed a supply contract, which was pretty easy. It was only half a page.
Mm.
And I remember people say, oh, no supplier's going to sign it. Bullshit, they all signed it. They couldn't sign it fast enough. So what would happen is the phone call would come through from the union saying, oh, the site at such and such a place, that's black stone, don't send any concrete. And it's, oh, look, I'm right with you, brother.
Yes.
But I've signed this contract, I've got to send it, I can't stop it.
Yes.
And We built about a dozen sites over 2 years. We built a dozen sites without the CFMEU. All the guys were in the CFMEU because they needed that ticket. So that was 30 years ago. Look, I've done a little bit of homework with a few builders around town. The mechanism's a little bit different today, but not that hard that you couldn't fix it. It'd be easy to fix.
Yes.
It's going to be difficult when there's an inquiry going on where the minister wants to get political capital out of it. If you just wanted to fix the sites, you'd just do it differently.
I'm trying to find that footage in Queensland of the CFMEU guys, some of them, I do believe it was them or someone else, holding a line and keeping people, locking them out of a site. And you've got a bunch of islanders, they just want to go to work. They just want to get in.
Yeah.
Rami, if you're able to find that, bro, I'd love to show that to people. And look, this reminds me of what my dad used to talk about 30, 40 years ago, because they came up in the construction industry. They were brickies. They did every trade on the site before they went on to become architects and builders. And he used to complain and said, and this is like Lebanese, Syrian, like on the site, Christians being like, we kicked their asses off the site if the union guys tried to come and intimidate us because they were made of tougher stuff. They don't make men like that anymore. but this is like, I agree with you. I think a lot of these guys would leave the unions if the law changed tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching the show. I hope you enjoyed this particular clip. If you want to support this show and keep the lights on and support everything we're doing at Turning Point Australia, please head to tpaust.com.au where we've got hats, we've got shirts, we've got maps. And if you don't want to buy any merch, that's perfectly fine. If you want to just buy maybe a cup of coffee a month for as little as $4 a month, you can help us get a small long black to actually support the show and actually keep things going. Thank you guys so much for your support. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you later.